right, welcome everyone. Good evening. This is our fifth and final event in our Broadening Horizons and Preservation Heritage Café lecture series. Our series will return in fall 2022 with another round of preservation professionals to discuss a wide range of topics and to tell us about heritage projects in and around Tacoma. In the meantime, check out our Facebook page and our Instagram for more information on all of our events that we have slated in the next coming months. Today's lecture is presented by the Rainbow Center. For more than 20 years, the Rainbow Center has expanded resources and safe spaces for the lesbian, gay, bisexual, queer, questioning, two-spirit, and allied community of Tacoma. Tonight, a panel of original founding members of the center will discuss the organization's history, their experiences in Tacoma, and the importance of physical spaces for safety and celebration for the queer community, especially at a time when most of our spaces and interactions are virtual. This lecture is brought to you by the City of Tacoma's Historic Preservation Program in conjunction with Historic Tacoma and the Tacoma Historical Society. In March, the Tacoma Historical Society will present their exhibit on LGBTQ community organizations in Tacoma. This exhibit will celebrate the past and present work of multiple organizations, including the Rainbow Center, from the 1950s to the present day. You can get more information on this event by visiting their website, tacomahistory.org, or by visiting the museum's new location at 406 Tacoma Ave South. I am Zoe Scuderi. I am the Historic Preservation Intern for the City of Tacoma. If you have any questions, please use the Q&A function as we will be taking those questions and answering them at the end. But before we begin, we would like to acknowledge that we live and work on the traditional homelands of the Puyallup tribe. We acknowledge that we gather today on the ancestral lands of the Coast Salish peoples who have lived in the Salish Sea Basin and throughout the San Juan Islands and North Cascade watershed from time immemorial. Please join me in expressing our deepest respect and gratitude for their enduring care and protection of our shared lands and waterways. I would now like to introduce our speaker, Marshall Samuela. I hope I pronounced your last name correctly, who is the celebration manager at the Rainbow Center, and I'll let you take it away.
Perfect. Thank you, Zoe. My name is Marshall. I use he, him pronouns, and as mentioned by Zoe, I am the celebration manager at Rainbow Center, and that sort of just entails being the forefront of the events that we have at Rainbow Center. That includes Tacoma Pride Festival, as well as our Black and White Gala. But before we get started with questions, I just want to introduce our panelists. First, I'll turn it over to Troy.
Hi, thank you, Marshall. My name's Troy Christensen. I use he, him, his pronouns. I am the executive director of the Rainbow Center, and I served for 6 years on the board as well in the early 2000s. During that time, I had the honor of being on the board with our other two panelists, Maggie Webb and Kim Burks. And during that time, we had the very first annual gala, and this year we have not only our 25th celebration as an organization, but our 20th anniversary of the Black and White Gala. Both of the other panelists were very involved in much of that. I'll turn it over to Maggie Webb first, who was one of the founding board members of the Rainbow Center, to introduce herself.
Thanks, Troy. My name is Maggie Webb, and I'm a business owner, community member here in Pierce County for the past 35 years or so, and have been involved with the Rainbow Center since 1998 as a board member, volunteer, and donor. So I think that dates me. Kim, how about you?
Well, first, I feel like it's imperative that we actually name the people that founded the Rainbow Center. And that was in 1997 by Karen Anderson and Miriam Handler and another gal that I can't recollect her name. And I think it's important to recognize that. And then, you know, I was solicited, I think in 1999, to join the Rainbow Center board and by Connie Brown. And I was given a grant to read that was from Lisa Arnold. about the Rainbow Center, because I actually think that's the best way to have compelling evidence about a nonprofit. And so she came by the house, she gave me this grant, said, you know, you have to shred it after you read it. And I read it and I'm like, oh my God, I have got to get involved. So I did. I think that was 1999, and got involved then. And my whole history has been about leveling the playing field for people that have not been served a fair shake. So I can't remember the question. Just introduce myself. That's it. So, involved since 1999. So.
Perfect. Thank you,
And
Kim.
I'll just add that we're aware that there's a lot of LGBTQ history prior to the founding
Right.
of the Rainbow
Yeah.
Center.
Yeah.
Our involvement, for the most part, has been subsequent to that founding.
Yeah.
Although, you know, we all existed prior to that too. So feel free to draw on that knowledge, Kim and Maggie.
Yeah.
Yes. So yes, thank you, Kim, and thank you, Maggie, and then thank you,
Yeah.
Troy. Right off the bat, the first question that I have for the panel is, how do you feel Rainbow Center has served the LGBTQ plus community and the Tacoma community in general throughout the years? Troy, why don't you start us off?
Sure. Well, the mission has been the same from the beginning: to educate, advocate, and celebrate with and on behalf of the LGBTQ community. And that, we believe, is still an extremely relevant mission, advocating not only for individual rights, but for collective rights as well, and educating people who are not good allies on what it means to be an ally and to provide support and an even playing field, like Kim mentioned. And then, of course, celebration, because we love to party. And, you know, the Pride Festival is one of the biggest street festivals in Tacoma all year. And so those are all still relevant for us. I would say that the people who walk into the center have different issues than they did 25 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Back then, you know, a lot of people were not out still. And so it was a safe place for people to come and get information and talk to other people about what they may have experienced and how they maneuvered through that. Today, it's very different. Often people are just looking for resources. You know, with the advent of the internet, of course, you know, so much information is out there. And we do still get people who are not out, and for reasons, you know, that are personal to them or professional to them, we need to protect their safety. And so we do still have that sometimes. But often we get people who've been victims of crime, discrimination, or harassment saying, what do I do? How do I maneuver? How do I move forward? What about the legal system, the medical system, housing, healthcare, food security, et cetera. So I think some of the issues have changed, even though our mission is the same. And of course, the level of resources we have now are significantly greater than they were when we were founded.
Maggie or Kim, would either of you like to add to that?
Yeah, I would. I want to fall back on the educate, advocate, and celebrate as being our mission for all the years that we have been around. And Rainbow Center itself has made us visible. We're a resource for the queer community. And I think that our longevity we are now a trusted community resource where politicians, community leaders, other folks turn to find out how to get resources to help them with whatever problem they may be dealing with at the time, which is great. So we've participated in political campaigns in the past. The Tough campaign, I think, was one of the first ones way back. Tacoma United for Fairness, which I think was one of the first laws in the nation that included transgender folks. So it was huge. Marriage equality, fight for transgender rights. So with the Rainbow Center being there, I think it's given the community credibility. We are now trusted as a community and looked to for advocacy. And I can't be more pleased.
Great, thank you, Maggie. And Kim?
I think the only thing I could add to that is the most important thing that an organization can offer is trust.
Mm.
And that I think that we demonstrated and evolved, just not even evolved, just demonstrated that if you come into the center, we will value your story and we will do whatever we can. But I'm pretty proud of the level of trust that we are able to deliver and offer and manifest. And, it's a team effort, quite frankly, because it's awful to feel alone. And I think that probably the most important thing that we do is to make connection and make someone feel less alone and know that they have a advocate and someone who cares. So that's the biggest thing that I think we do.
Great. Thank you, Cameron.
Sure.
The next question is, and really, Maggie, I'm going to turn to both you and Kim for this question, but can you tell us about the locations of Rainbow Center throughout the years? And then where is the Rainbow Center at now for those people who are joining us and maybe aren't familiar with the Rainbow Center?
Well, I know where the first place was, which is a really small office in the United Way building. I don't think we could even walk around the desk. And we had a resource stand that we had to put outside the door because there was no room for it to be in the office with all the little leaflets and things like that. And United Way gave us free rent, and the Pierce County AIDS Foundation gave us a $5,000 grant, I think, for a 3-year period.
Wow.
To just get us started. That was in the beginning when we really didn't have anything but a bookshelf and a desk and a lot of volunteers.
And no window. So it literally felt like we were in the closet.
It was kind of dark in there now you mention it. So, but what I couldn't remember was then did we go to the Barb Montrose business building or did we go to Pacific Avenue and the old Pioneer building first?
We went to the Pacific Avenue Barb's place next.
That was like a year.
Yeah, and then we went to next to the PETA pit upstairs, right?
Yeah, where the PETA pit is now, right? That's I think it was the Pioneer building at the time, but it's been renamed or the security building or something like that.
Yeah,
we were on the third floor there for years.
That's when Alicia was our ED.
Yep. And then after that, we left. We leased a former art studio up on, is it called Antique Row? I believe that's the name of the street up there. And that was really our most beautiful location as to date, because of course it was a prior art studio. The floors, the walls, lighting, everything was just, great. And then
right next to the Republican National Office for Tacoma, next door.
But also
the gay bar on the other side.
Even also next to the gay bar, right? Right.
That was the first place that we could actually had a storefront. And so we could hang a flag out front and, do stuff like that, which was cool. And I like to tell this story, Marshall, is where, the flag kept getting stolen, but I'm sure it was gay people coming out of the bar late at night, standing up on someone's shoulder to get that flag down. So it wasn't the Republicans.
So a question about the location of Rainbow Center in these sort of formidable years. Was there any concerns over safety with being so outwardly public? Yes, still wanting to create a safe space, but also wanting to protect people as they come in and seek resources.
Yeah, I would say, especially when we moved to storefront, I mean, we wanted to not feel like we were in hiding. Right. So we wanted people to feel proud about who they were and to be visible to the public. And also simultaneously, we were concerned about what that might mean. And because people would have immediate access to us rather than going into a building and coming up to our suite. So still today, even on Pacific Avenue, we keep the doors locked all the time.
Oh my God, do we?
Yeah. We can buzz people in when they show up, but we still get angry people that come by and yell things and throw things. And so, for the safety of our staff, we keep it locked. And fortunately, it's fairly minor incidents. But yeah, there were concerns about safety. as there still are.
Well, it's cool that I guess we're on the bus line, right? So that's
Yes.
important, right? But unfortunately, we're not in a walking, area, shopping area or anything like that. So that's a bummer, Troy. I actually did not realize that we need to do that.
Yeah,
Well, there's a changed environment downtown, Kim. I think that,
especially right now.
yes.
Yeah.
Really?
Just leave it at that, but, yeah.
Okay. I'm just,
So, we haven't talked about our current location, which is where Troy and Marshall do their work.
well, actually, that's what I was talking about.
Well, go
because
right
he
ahead,
said
Kim.
that no, because he said that they still have to
You're right.
lock the door.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
kind of freaking me out because I did not know that. And obviously I'm still a big contributor, but I know the security people that we have enlisted to help, but damn.
Kim, one of the things that's a little different is the internet access, that people can contact the Rainbow Center without actually coming to the Rainbow Center and then find out how to circumvent the locked door or whatever the case may be. I mean, do you not find that more people contact you online as opposed to the front door?
The majority.
Yeah, I guess. No, I guess that's right. It still makes me want to tear up and think you do not feel safe going into this organization that has been in existence like 23 or 24 years, that solely exists to service you, and that you actually have to worry about getting your butt there and how they can help you. And yes, of course, and especially younger people, they do everything online. Maybe I'm just thinking like a 50-something-year-old person is like, I didn't realize that I might have to feel unsafe walking down the street on the sidewalk and going into this organization. I am ignorant, and I didn't know. I mean,
Shocked the first time I went down there and the doors were locked, but came to understand what the realization was.
Anyway, I get it. That's fine.
Yeah.
I can.
But we are in a beautiful space. It's the largest one we've been in.
I know. We made so much progress.
And we share the space with Oasis Youth
I
Center.
know.
So we're able to
The
have.
question that I have for the two of you, Troy and Marshall, is what is it like to share the Rainbow Center space with Oasis? And is that real advantageous, as I would think it would be?
Well, I'll say just right off the bat, Marshall hasn't had to do that yet because we've been in a pandemic for the past year.
Yeah, okay.
And so he hasn't. We really haven't been in the space, but
That's true, right?
It's
right.
actually great because we probably wouldn't be able to afford a large kitchen and a big community room that holds our library, a big screen TV, pool table, and we share those two spaces with Oasis, and then we each have offices and a general seating area inside or at the opposite ends of the space. And so it's been a great partnership to be located with them. They keep their door locked as well for the same reasons. And I'll just add that in the past year, we've had 7 or 8 break-ins, but they were not related to hate crimes. The number of break-ins that we've had compared to all of our neighbors is about the same. It's unfortunate, and it just has to do with everything that's going on downtown right now and the increased numbers of people experiencing homelessness and the decreased numbers of police officers in Tacoma. And so, we have that worry as well as people who would, not want us to exist because of who we are. So those combined, we have to be very careful with our safety.
And some folks might not know, but Oasis is a queer youth organization, which is used to be a program of the Pierce County AIDS Foundation, and it's an aspiring nonprofit of its own. The Pierce County AIDS Foundation is now the fiscal manager of that organization, so a huge success there as well.
Yeah. And they've been a great partner, as has Pierce County AIDS Foundation. There's also the AIDS Housing Association of Tacoma. And then there are some smaller LGBT organizations like My Purple Umbrella that focuses on trans youth. And Tacoma Older LGBT that focuses on LGBTQ senior issues. They're both small enough that they don't have paid staff yet, but they've incorporated as nonprofits. So there are quite a few organizations around the Tacoma area that focus on our community. Each
And,
with the
and GAS, is GASS still?
Oh, yes, it's now, it was
Yeah.
Gender Alliance of the
Yeah.
South Sound,
Mhm. And now
which
it's-
was a trans organization.
Mhm.
And now it's Diversity Alliance of the Puget Sound, DAPS. And they still, one of the things we do in our space and have been for years is we allow
Yeah.
other groups to
Yeah.
meet in our space.
Right.
So there are affinity groups like the trans men of Tacoma meet there, and the Diversity Alliance of the Puget Sound. There's a LGBT jam session that meets when we're not in a pandemic. So a lot of different groups come in the evenings and use our space because we're a community center, and that's what we're supposed to be doing, is providing that hub for anyone that needs to use it.
The next question I have for the panel, and Maggie, we'll start with you. What specific memory do you have of Rainbow Center that sort of encompasses what it meant to you?
That's an easy one, Marshall,
Okay.
for me. So there was a gentleman who volunteered at the Rainbow Center named Terry Rhines, and he got involved with the school system and created a program that basically introduced this to, middle school to a gay person. It's like, hey, I'm gay, and here's my lesbian friend, and we want to ask us some questions, and just really easy stuff like that. And at the time, Alicia Lewis was our executive director, and she had children in the school system. So, and then now, here we are 30 years later, and we have things called gay straight alliances. And I think that those things are we're at where we are now because of what Terry Ryan started 30 years ago.
That's great. Thank you, Maggie.
Yeah, one of the coolest memories I have is going to a schoolroom with 5th and 6th graders and having a picture of my girlfriend, and they're just, asking me questions about, where did I meet her? How did I meet her? Like I was the first gay person they'd ever seen. So it almost makes me cry now thinking about it. That's my favorite memory.
Thank you. And Kim and Troy, favorite memories that sort of shed light on the importance of Rainbow Center?
You're on mute, Kim.
You're still on mute, Kim.
Kim, you're on mute.
Okay, all right, there's
There you
so
go.
many. There you are. My most important memory is stating our purpose. And you know how it is when you have an organization and they do triage. What it felt like to me is when I became involved with the Rainbow Center, that we did a little bit of triage. This is totally off the cuff. I didn't even know what questions you're asking, but right after I joined the board, I just felt like there's this need for people to feel accepted and know that they're not alone. And it kind of feels like triage. And every step that we took that was more proactive and maintenance, and to make people feel like that they are part of the norm, and that we weren't just, band-aiding them and making them feel a certain way. I'm trying to think of when that was, but I think it was when we had this grant. I think it was written by Lisa Arnold, I'm not sure, to do capacity building and to have training around that told us how to maximize our goals and how to actually implement them. Because you can get somebody off the street and say, hey, I'm trans, I just moved from Texas, I'm afraid, I'm scared, how can you help me? And all you do is say, well, we love you. Not sure where you can live. We might have a few resources, right? There's just not a ton you can do. But when you do capacity building and, I don't know, be able to have programmatic, you know what I'm saying, like
Programmatic.
programs, yeah, that help people to deal with that. Those are real circumstances. All we could really do before was, you're not alone and we're here, and you know, you can get our newsletter and stuff like that. I don't know if I answered the question.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I think it's super important to be able to see that progress that's been made with the Rainbow Center, and in saying like, yes, we love you, and being able to add to that and saying like, we love you, and here's so much more resources that we can offer.
Right,
you.
right. No, that is the total magic. I'm not even kidding. That is it. Like,
I want to mention that the budget of the Rainbow Center would not exist as it is today if it was not for Kim Burks and her idea of the black and white gala. And
So Kim, did the Black and White Gala start because of you?
it was because of me and Alicia Lewis, who was the executive director at the time. It was kind of hilarious. So I'm like, I think that's what we need to do. We need to do some kind of fundraising, and we brought it to the board. And I think that it was going to cost, like, I don't know how much, $1,500 or something. Like, no, we can't handle that. I'm like, okay. So let's just.
Well, remember, we had $5,000. That was it, right? No,
oh, yeah. Oh my goodness. And so then we joined forces with John McCluskey and his involvement with, what was the organization?
Puget Sound Business, was that?
No, it was the queer organization. Anyway.
Yeah.
So we made like $8,000 the first year. But what's really hilarious, I mean, our goal was, I'm sorry, it's really kind of funny. Our goal was to let people dress up in Tacoma and be proud and all that, and have a place to go besides Seattle to, you know, be out proud and dressed up and formal. Anyway, it was kind of a joke. We made like $1,500 or something, 75 participants. And then what I actually think is funny is when Alicia and I said, guys, we really need an auctioneer. And she charges, I don't know, $2,500, $33,000. And the board said, no, we cannot authorize that. And I'm like, okay, well, if I pay in case it doesn't pay, and you know, it took off. It was fabulous, because that was the celebrate part, and we should not have to travel outside our community that we live in to be able to dress up. I know it sounds hokey. I don't care if you're gay. I don't care if it's a whatever society, welders. It doesn't matter. Like, you should be able to celebrate formally in a formal outfit in whatever community you live in. And Tacoma is not a wicked stepchild of Seattle. Tacoma is Tacoma. Yeah. And we need to stand proud no matter what we are, right?
Yes.
And that's kind of what I like about Tacoma. Literally everything that I've ever brought up in Tacoma, like, it doesn't matter what kind of warts you have. They have been Tacoma has been receptive. So anyway, does that make sense?
It does make sense. Kim, let me ask you something. How good does it feel to see the Black and White Gala, something that you started with 75 participants, go from that to now 500 plus?
Fun.
It feels really great. People are going to hate me for being perfectly honest. I actually shouldn't be. It feels really, really great to have so many participants, and then having a higher percentage of non-gay people there. I don't even know what the percentage is, but it might even be close to 50, 60. Troy, I don't know. I just want to be so careful that we don't become a rubber chicken, nonprofit American Heart Association celebration.
No way.
Does that make sense? I am super proud of what we have accomplished and how much a percentage of the budget that it contributes. It makes my heart swell. It really, really does.
And Marsha will never let that rubber chicken thing happen.
Okay, I
No,
know.
absolutely not on my watch.
Okay, but
It's good.
you know what I'm saying? Like, please, I don't think I've missed any at all.
I haven't either.
Nor
Me neither.
Maggie. I'm super, super proud. That's the main thing. And I should not have even mentioned my borrowed trouble. That's what I call it. When you worry about things that might never happen in the future, I call it borrowed trouble. And I shouldn't have mentioned that. Please edit that for whatever forum that you're doing.
I think it's live.
Yeah, I think it's live, Kim. So
Yeah.
Yeah. Did she just leave?
By
Oh, no,
accident,
maybe she-
probably.
Yeah. She probably went to hit the mute button.
Yeah.
Well, I'll add a couple of things about the gala. So yeah, we had 75 people. 2019 was our last live gala, and
Right.
we grossed over 300,000 and netted
Oh, goodness.
200,000. And it really is an important part of our budget each year. And we had 550 people at the last live gala, and we probably turned away 100 that tried to get tickets after we were sold out. But the convention center, we were in their largest space, and that's all the room we had. So yeah, it has become extremely popular. There are a lot of non-LGBTQ people, like Kim suggested, who have said to me, when is the gala going to be live again? Because this is the best party of the year.
yeah.
And I'm not surprised, we throw a good party. It's a good party for anyone, whether you're part of the LGBTQ community or not. And so in response to that question you asked, Marshall, I think the specific memory I have about how important Rainbow Center is, I went to, I can't remember what year it was, to the gala, and there was a woman at the table that I didn't know, and I introduced myself, and I asked what her connection was to the Rainbow Center. This was probably 10 or 15 years ago. And she said, 6 years ago when I moved to Tacoma, I was lost and I had no connection to community. And I reached out to the Rainbow Center, and they helped me figure out what I was going to do as a single lesbian, and where, what were safe places to live, what were safe, places that I should avoid. And she said, I knew at that moment that if I ever had any means, I was going to support this organization. And then she did.
That's beautiful. Thank you, Troy. Our next question is, and we'll start with you, Maggie. Do you think there will always be a need for the Rainbow Center?
I think that as long as there continue to be beliefs that haunt queers, we will always need something like the Rainbow Center. And there are plenty of organizations out there that don't believe that being queer is good, normal, or anything about it. So from that point of view, I would say yes. There's always going to be a need to educate those types of folks. So.
Thank you. Kim or Troy? Do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, at the gala in the program, I get to write a statement from the executive director, and I always end it the same way, which is that we will not rest until everyone can walk down the street being fully who they are without fear of discrimination, harassment, or worse. And we're a long ways from that currently. There are areas in Palm Springs, in San Francisco, in Seattle, where you can walk down the street with another person of the same gender, holding hands in a loving way, and not have to fear that someone's going to jeer at you. That's most of the people I know still say that they're afraid to do that in Tacoma, unless they're, at the gala, for example, or at the Rainbow Center, or, in a particular location where they know it's going to be completely safe. Because as Maggie said, there are still people out there in a percentage probably higher than we want to admit that wished we didn't exist, and if they had their way would eliminate us. And so not in our lifetimes do I anticipate there not being a need for Rainbow Center.
It'll just take me a second. I would like to focus on the positive parts of nonprofit organizations, and that I truly feel like globally that we are advancing, okay? That we are have more volunteerism, we have more gifting, more donations. I think that poverty in general has decreased. And while I don't think that I think that Rainbow Center will need to exist for till 2050. That's my goal. 2045. I'll be dead, but that's fine. But I just want to acknowledge the progress. I mean, I have customers, patients in my business. They're 13 and transgender, and they are out and have been getting medication. They just, oh my gosh, when I look at them and they're just so, here I am. I'm like, oh my God, have we progressed or what? So I wish that we didn't have to exist, but we do for all age levels right now. But I would like some acknowledgement about how far we've come, that there is definitive positive movement. I mean, like even sort of exponentially, right? In the past few years with, gay marriage, partnership, whatever. Anyway, the question was about should the Rainbow Center exist? I wish it didn't have to, but it will have to for a few more years. But I think that we need to stay positive and focused and unrelenting. So,
Kim, you bring up a good point. I think that it's so encouraging to read articles about parents who are allowing their very young children to decide their sexuality.
Oh yeah, this gal was 5 years old
awesome.
when she started. Yeah.
Because that's the way the whole thing changes.
Yeah, the mom was totally in agreement at 5 years old. She's been doing estrogen and a testosterone blocker for 10 years. So
that's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah,
another indicator. I mean, we have City of Tacoma staff on here with us, and they have their pronouns listed. Not just because they're doing this event with us. That's their, I go to meetings with the city all the time, and the vast majority of them have their pronouns after their name.
Yeah.
They probably remember to do it more than I do.
I just the progress just needs to be mentioned as much as how much we have left to go. And I just hope that that's revealed at the same level of how far we need to go. And maybe that doesn't compel people to give us much money, but I don't know. It should be noted.
That's great, thank you. And maybe, maybe the Rainbow Center exists in the future, but maybe it's with better intentions, right? So maybe it's not having to educate people who are ignorant or wish ill upon us, but we're there more so for, joyous reasons, if you will.
Right. Yeah.
And preserving history.
Preserving history, exactly.
Yeah.
And then the last question I have for the panel is, what impact has having a dedicated space for the LGBTQ community had on Tacoma? And Troy, why don't you start us off?
Sure. I wasn't on the board with the initial space, but each of the ones since then I have been. And each space has increasingly been a community-focused location. Not only eventually with windows and then storefront, but the community space itself gets larger with each move. And I don't mean to suggest that, that pattern will continue, because I think we're in a great space right now. but having that space and recognizing the importance of it for people who want to walk in and not have to worry about being who they are, and to just be greeted at the door with, "Hi, friend, come on in. Let us tell you about the center and what we might be able to do to assist you." And you know, we got this grant last year for an entire bank of computers. So we have 5 brand new computers that have not been used much yet because we're still in the pandemic. But you know, once we open back up, and those will be there just like they are in the library. You know, it'll be a place where people can come and log in and do whatever business they need to do on the computer, or also, you know, just hang out in the general area, play a game of pool. We have the largest LGBTQ library in the state. And so people sometimes just peruse the library, sit down, read a book. They can also check them out. And we get more books donated every year. We just had 400 more at the end of last year. So yeah, I think having that space has been really important to the community in Tacoma and Pierce County.
Maggie and Kim.
Yeah, you know, it makes me think back to the very beginnings of the Rainbow Center. We were in our office, and we would have meetings in people's homes still because the office wasn't big enough to have more than like 2 people in it. So one of the questions that we talked about was, do we have the Rainbow Center in someone's home, or do we have it in a business location? And the difference between a business location and someone's home is accessibility. People will not go to someone's private home, you know, who don't, you know, I mean, just for all different kinds of reasons. So having a location that is not someone's personal residence was a huge step forward in our community.
Thank you. And Kim.
That said,
Well,
some
I
of my
think-
favorite memories are gala meetings at Kim's house.
You know, I think it's imperative to have a storefront and a brick and mortar place. But then we do have to recognize that sometimes people are more comfortable with the whole online chat thing. I'm too old to be hip. I just am. And I think that I kind of think that some modification might be wise between the brick and mortar and online. I've been thinking about it a long time. It's important for the brick and mortar because it just means it makes you legitimate. You know, it's like, okay, I can go here if I want to, right? But I've been thinking about, I don't know, you know, meeting one-on-one somewhere and be more like a pod, or it's intimidating to go to an organization. I feel like I'm being a devil's advocate weirdo, but I think, no, I'm serious, but I'm proud of the space that we're in. Huge, huge advocate. I helped raise a lot of money for us to be in the space that we're in. And I think that it gave us a lot of legitimacy. But I also, my whole point being that we do have to adjust to how people communicate now. And I wish it wasn't all virtual or, you know, online, Facebook or whatever. And I just want to make sure that we acknowledge how it's best to communicate with our constituents and how we can help them best, rather than drop in hours, you know what I'm saying, or call in hours. And it worries me that we are not in that space. And are we doing enough to make sure that we can communicate with them real time? Because even though we've made so much progress, have we really given them this avenue by which to communicate with us? And Troy, you can feel insulted and be mad at me if you want to, I get it. But it you know what I'm saying? Like, it does kind of worry me. Is it been negative that we have not been open?
Yes, it has. not everyone has access to electronics. We have tablets and laptops that we use as loaners, but we know there are more people out there that aren't accessing us. In particular, seniors who were already facing isolation due to age and their LGBTQ status, and now they're even more isolated due to the pandemic. And for a while, we had a part-time person that was just doing outreach to them, but that we don't have that right now.
And I meant when we had lunch together to talk to you about, hey, is there like 4 places in the community where we could say, we can't open our place right now, but if you want to meet in front of the coffee house, whatever, 2 or 3 times a month, you can meet us here in this safe space or whatever. So it just is upsetting to me that maybe we're not providing, a physical space because we can't be open. So,
Thank you.
Thank you, Kim. And actually, we're gonna pivot a little bit before we end. Is who can sort of speak to the history of Pride? Because I know it wasn't always put on by Rainbow Center, but that there was a nonprofit that existed beforehand that sort of, and separate from Rainbow Center, that sort of facilitated Pride.
Yeah, there was an organization called Out in the Park. And when I was first on the board, they were putting on the Pride celebration at Wright Park, or Lincoln Park, actually, I think the first year I saw it. But I know it existed before that, and Maggie and Kim may have more history on that. At some point, Rainbow Center took that over and rebranded as Tacoma Pride. Maggie, do you know much about the history before Out in the Park?
Well, not before we took it over. And I remember when we did take it over, Terry Rhines was on board, so was Alicia, and they were all in as far as making that a great event to attend. But I'm trying to think, there was a couple of organizations, the Puget Sound Business Association, Women for Women, the Out in the Park organization. And so when it comes to this festival, there were actually, I think, multiple organizations who met to help facilitate the event.
And I know that the Imperial Sovereign Court of Tacoma.
That's who I forgot. There you go.
They
Thank you.
They had a pride parade more than once. That was not a formal one where streets were shut down, but they reminded us recently when the mayor said, we're looking forward to having our first pride parade. And they came to the Rainbow Center and reminded us it's not the first one. There were celebrations like that with some of those organizations.
And they always ran the stage at the park events too. So
yes.
Awesome. And then before I turn it back over to Zoe, does anybody have any sort of closing statements or any sort of last topics that they want to touch on?
I'll just say that I'm glad, I have not considered us, and I don't know that we ever spoke collectively about the Rainbow Center being a cultural or heritage organization. But with the Tacoma Creates funding, that's the category we came in under. And so it, especially now that we've been around for 25 years, there really is a lot of culture and a lot of heritage that has come out of the Rainbow Center since its founding. And so I just want to say that I'm really grateful that we were thought of for this, to come to one of these heritage cafes, and that the city of Tacoma considered us a cultural and heritage organization. And now I think more in those terms because we are that, as well as a celebration, advocacy, and education center.
That means we're old. That's what that means.
The older you get, the more important history is, right?
Yeah. That's funny. Maggie or Kim, any sort of final thoughts?
I just want to say thank you to Marshall and Troy and the rest of the people at the Rainbow Center for carrying on some of the things that we started. I'm blessed to have you all in my life. Thank you.
Maggie.
Thank you.
And
Maggie.
I actually remember Maggie calling me, and I think it was the end of 1999, and said the rent is $170 and we're $90 short. Can you cover us? Yes. No, I'm just teasing. I do feel honored and privileged that this is important enough to document in any way that it comes out, because people need to feel valued and important no matter where they're from, what their color is or whatever, but they need to be seen. They just need to be seen, recognized, and we're here for them. And no matter what our role is, no matter what our goals, agenda, whatever, to be seen and heard. People will forget what you said about them in a negative way, but they will never forget how you made them feel. And so all we care about is making them feel noticed and normal and cared for. And I hope we don't have to exist 25 years from now, but anyway, we're going to do the best that we can.
And I will just add one other thing, which is in the past few years, one of the things that we have recognized and begun work on is that we have been more relevant to the white LGBT community than the communities of BIPOC people. And we, as many nonprofits, have carried a structure that is more akin to historical white cultures and not cultures of color. And we are doing a lot of work at the Rainbow Center on being more inclusive, on being less white-centered and dominant white culture. And it's been really important work for us, and it's hard work. And we are all in and dedicated to and committed to making sure that we shift and evolve in ways that are more relevant to everyone than just parts of our community.
Thank you, Troy.
Thank you, Troy. Yeah, so I will turn it back over to Zoe.
Excellent. And I just want to first start by saying thank you guys so much for sharing all of your information and knowledge and thoughts on where we are in our current world and where the organization and the Rainbow Center is in Tacoma and the role that it plays. So many thoughts came up as you guys were talking and seeing a lot about how the relevance and where you have to figure out how to connect with the community, especially in a time where now we're all virtual and it's so difficult to figure out spaces of physicality and that human connection outside of the virtual world. I'm sure is a big problem to try to get around and figure out in our current world. So I really commend you guys and trying to figure that out. I have a couple questions that have come up through our various chats that I'd like to ask you guys. So first, we have someone who wanted to ask about any reflections, and I think you sort of mentioned this a little bit before, but any reflections that you have on the queer community and queer spaces prior to the Rainbow Center, any spaces that might have been lost, such as queer bars or other community gathering sites that may or may not still be places where there is connection. Can you guys express anything on those physical spaces that may have been in Tacoma?
Yeah, when I first joined the board in 2002, I remember talking to the executive director, Alicia Lewis, and I asked her, what's the most common question that people have when they call in? What are they looking for mostly? And she said, the most common call was, where are the gay bars in Tacoma? That is absolutely not a common call today, because those were the meeting spaces.
Right.
And it's unfortunate because a lot of chemical dependency or chemical abuse resulted from that, because those were the places to go. That's where you met people. It's where you could be yourself and feel safe. And, you know, in general in the community is safer now. But we also, as you know, have the community space at the Rainbow Center that you all may have more memories than that, Maggie and Kim.
Same thing, mostly just meeting in bars. I was trying to remember the name of the bar that was at the corner.
733.
Yes. And we used to meet there a lot, and they actually had, I think we had a little office space. One of the organizations had a little office space off the side of that tavern or bar there, where I know we had some political meetings and such. I'm trying to think if there were any other, you know, mostly it's homes that I think of and not business fronts.
I don't want to forget Tacoma Lesbian Concerned.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
I think they're probably still in existence, but that was a absolute stronghold.
Well, and they were one of the first ones, actually, Kim, that got
Absolutely.
involved with setting up the Rainbow Center as well.
Yeah.
They were in those
Yeah.
meetings with Miriam Handler and Karen Anderson.
Right. And then did they have the Rainbow Pyramid as their logo?
Don't
You know what I'm
remember.
talking about? There could have been another organization that had the Rainbow Pyramid, but that I think that Terry Rines was trying to get off the ground. Anyway, I didn't want to forget Tacoma Lesbian Concerned, and obviously was lots of meetings going around in homes and such to support either the organization or other advocacy efforts. So
Kim's being one of those homes.
oh my goodness.
And
Yeah,
Troy.
I
think I live too far out of town. Nobody wants to come to my house.
Yeah.
It's funny because it's true.
I love that. I love that there's a real emphasis on the community aspect and the connections that you have with people, that you're able to, you know, that these places of queer connection would have been homes and those places of people that you know very well. We have a couple questions about can you speak to the involvement of the Tacoma community, individuals and groups, and politics, including anti-discrimination at the city and state levels, and anything that the Rainbow Center might have been involved in with that from more of a higher political state laws and place of, don't know if that where I went with that question, sorry. But the involvement that the Rainbow Center has had in anti-discriminatory action in our government.
Well, we're really lucky in Tacoma that the state of Washington has made it illegal to discriminate. And the city of Tacoma independently made it illegal to discriminate. Many states don't have those protections. Theoretically, now that the Supreme Court passed, well, not passed, but said it was illegal to discriminate in employment, technically around the country that it is now illegal, but it's much harder to enforce in some parts of the country than for us. You know, and Washington State passed a marriage bill a couple of years before the Supreme Court. So, you know, I feel like we've had some great early success in Tacoma, Washington State compared to some of the others. And we still have our opponents. You know, just a few years ago, someone attempted to overturn, I say someone, but a group of people got a lot of traction with I-1515 trying to overturn the protections for trans people. and made it all about the bathrooms. And fortunately, they did not succeed, but they came very close. And it took a lot of effort from Rainbow Center, Oasis, our elected officials, and our entire community to make that happen and educate people about what the real issue was.
You know, the Tacoma United for Fairness campaign keeps coming to mind. We, when we rented from Montrose Business Building there, we had a phone bank system, and we were able to use that as part of that campaign. And that was actually the first successful transgender issue that ever been taken up in the nation. And we had organizations coming in from out of town to help us win this campaign, which was really cool. So there's a lot of activity around that. I remember that a lot.
Yeah, tough, right? I remember that back in the day.
Tacoma United for Fairness, TUFF. And of course, as being a CPA, I'm the treasurer for all these things. So spend a lot of time with the TDC.
I want to add that, Maggie and Kim are both small business owners, and they have used not only their personal, but their business leverage for the Rainbow Center for decades. Mm-hmm. They're both major donors. They, provide a sizable amount of their income to support the work that we're doing. And it means a great deal, not only to know that you were there and helped found us and get us started and get us growing, but that you're still involved every year, even when there are, annoying things that happen and you're like, how the hell did this happen under so-and-so's watch? You're still there, and you're still there supporting us. And that when you mention it, your opinion matters. And so we really appreciate that. And we wouldn't be where we are today without the two of you. And
Thank
several
you.
other people.
Thanks, Troy. I don't know if this dialogue will be in print anywhere or where the heck it's going to go, and it doesn't matter. But
don't tell really Kim, because I don't think she realizes that this is
all on computers now.
I have no idea. But I think it would be remiss to not mention the committees that we have all been on, right? With Ryan Mello and Lori Jenkins for Equal Rights Washington, and every daggum thing that got passed, we were all involved in, but they were the ringleaders. And John McCluskey and his partner Rudy, it has to be in the scrolls, okay? It must be documented, because John and Rudy, they've only been they were 60 years, but really prominent in the community and well connected and welcoming and organizing. And Lori Jenkins and Ryan Mello.
I also want to mention Gloria Stansich.
Of course, right. Yeah. So, anywho, we basically, honestly, have been first lieutenants, and those folks were higher than that. I don't have an Army background, but you know what I mean? Like, we were influential, but we also followed orders, and because we weren't in politics, right, per se. And so those people should be noted and recognized, and we did everything that we could to make things happen. And I remember when me and Benji were on the what was the bill? 133 equal, right?
1550. Oh, that one. Sorry.
You remember?
Yeah.
I don't know, 15 years ago, 10 years ago. Anyway, we raised more money per capita, he and I, in our fundraising plan than Seattle had ever done. And I have always just wanted to elevate Tacoma and our ability to, we are giving, and we care about people. So I wanted to recognize the folks that organized us being there and ask us for things that we could do to help, the mission, right? I think we can all agree that we have been excellent first lieutenants and that we have done everything that we can, but there are other people behind the scenes that have orchestrated our success. And
Yes.
it's super cool that we're being talked to and interviewed or what have you. But there's certainly a lot more influential people that doing the work.
Yeah,
if that
time and
makes
money, they're both needed.
Oh yeah, no, I mean,
Absolutely.
I'm with you. I mean, yeah, all of us, yeah.
There's a lot of time that goes into the gala events that bring in the budget, so
My goodness,
that's huge.
it's so crazy.
Well, I've got one other question that I'd like to ask. That's it is, I'm not exactly sure where it's coming from, but it mentions that there was someone who was trying to interview people to write a book on early Tacoma history. I'm assuming of the of LGBTQ history in Tacoma around 8 or 10 years ago, and they're asking if anyone knows where what might have happened to that. But expanding on that, is there work that you guys are doing to document the history that you have and the knowledge that you have amongst your community members to be able to have part of this important history shared amongst yourselves? I think that there's a big level between the younger generation of the LGBT community who, as you mentioned earlier, find a lot of information in virtual spaces and online, but might not necessarily have those community connections from older members of the community. Is there work that you guys are doing or projects that you have planned to try to document that history and keep that knowledge and stories alive?
Well, I can speak to the history of the book issue, and that I believe has to do with Gloria Stanches and the Historical Society, I believe.
I have an electronic copy of that.
Okay.
If you'd like me to get it to you or the Historical Society or both.
Cool. So, and you guys can speak to what we're doing currently.
Currently, I mean, mostly we document everything that we do all the time. All of our, especially the board of directors has to document everything. So we have all of that. Because we now work in computers, we have access to everything all the time from the past 15, 20 years. So we haven't compiled it into an historical document at this point.
Actually, I have a question for the panel. So like back during when the Rainbow Center started, everybody had sort of talked about like meeting at people's houses. But was there ever like a business in Tacoma that maybe wasn't dedicated to, that wasn't a dedicated like queer space, but everybody felt safe going there or supporting it, whether that's like a coffee shop or a restaurant? Because I think about places now, so like Wooden City being one of them, although it is not a queer restaurant, I still feel safe in that space.
Right,
So
right.
did something like that exist back then?
No, besides the bars, I'm trying to think.
Yeah.
All right.
We met with Silverstone a few times. They serve food.
Yeah.
We met at Tully's mostly, and I
Okay.
was a member of
yeah.
the Pride Foundation. And
That's right,
every one of
upstairs.
our committee meetings were at the Tully's downtown at 9th and Broadway, I think,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Bostwick now.
Right, and I was involved in another nonprofit called Bridges Healthcare, and we were on 6th Avenue, and it was a naturopathic health facility geared toward LGBT people.
Cool.
And so we met there, but it's a lesson in being a nonprofit board member and what you need to do to succeed. So it didn't last very long, although I was kind of proud of the effort that we did to focus healthcare on that community. Yeah.
Our board recently, meaning in the last couple of years, met both at Knapp's and Giuseppe's because they each reacted strongly and negatively to an anti-trans group that wanted to meet in their space. And so then we said, all right, we need to patronize your business, and we need to make sure that that people know that you're supporting us.
Okay.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, it does not look like we have many other questions left. I'm trying to make sure I didn't miss anyone. But yeah, is there anything else that you would like to share? Marshall did a great job wrapping up a lot of this conversation. But anything else prior to ending tonight?
Marshall, I'm going to continue to think about your question.
Okay.
There must
I
have
would
been
just be
someplace
really
we went.
interested to know, like, if there's a business that's like maybe still around. You know what I
well,
mean?
good question. I got to think about that for a day or two. I'm just,
Okay.
I'm old. I got to, it takes me time to reprocess it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like, I'm young and I still have that issue. So
Okay, we're good then. We're on the same page.
yeah.
Well,
I
thank
had a
you,
lot of fun
everyone.
doing this. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for sharing tonight. And absolutely, I would just send anyone who has any further questions about your organization to your website. We'll have links to all of everything that you guys are doing, your Instagram and website as well. But thank you so much for sharing tonight. We really appreciated it. I loved getting to hear your guys' stories, and I think that there's definitely a major level of beyond the work that the Rainbow Center does for the city of Tacoma, the breadth of knowledge that each of you have and are able to express to people, I think is extremely important for learning more about the history and getting a part of the community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Zoe.
Thank you very much.
Excellent.
Bye.
All right. Have a wonderful evening, guys.
Bye,
You
everyone.
too.
Y'all too.